Okay, the problems I've been having with my Simplicity zero turn, it's a 50-inch deck, is to start it, it cranks and cranks forever before fuel comes up and she'll start. If it sits a few days, that fuel drains out and then I'm right back to doing it all over again. I swapped out the carburetor with an aftermarket, which there was no difference. I do want to put the original back on. We did find a hole in here from mice chewing on it, the vacuum for your fuel pump. I've changed the fuel pump before, same problem. Today I'm going to go ahead and replace this fuel pump again, and then replace the fuel line all the way into the tank. Replace everything, because if a mouse is chewed through it somewhere and you don't find it and it sucks air, that would cause our problem. If that doesn't do it, I'll get the original carburetor back on there and go through that one, see if we can eliminate this problem. To get started, I'm just going to remove some covers and such to make it easier to work on. This one off. And we get this fuel. I think I'm going to go ahead and just remove the shroud. Really don't have to. The hose is right there. I'll try that first, just removing it from here. If not, I'll just take the whole shroud off. The line's pretty tight in here. I'm just going to go ahead and make it easier, remove the whole shroud. I'll remove the pump away from it first, and we'll go from there. The fuel pump is just a couple of 5/16. Let's see. That's all you need there. Actually, I could take that off right now. You really don't have to do that because I got the vacuum. I'm going to take this whole thing off anyhow. We'll leave it hang. There's 5/16 up here. Then we should have 3/8 over here. A few of those going around. I'm going to give you back off enough to slide it past. And there's a couple in the front that you can't get to with this, so I'll have to grab a wrench. Fuel. I might give it a crank to see how much is coming out. Better look here. Damn it. All right. Get this sucker locked in there. Here we go. Just a little dribble. Really think that's our problem. Let's pop on the new fuel pump first, see if there's a difference. So I picked up this fuel pump on Amazon. It's a DRware. Comes with some lines, filter and all. Let me pop that on there and we'll see how if it reacts any different. So I've got the old one off. I'm just going to use the same old lines to test this out. Definitely seems like it's more. I don't think that's quite efficient though. Let's swap them out again. Okay, old pump. Doesn't seem to be any different. Let's go ahead and just change the whole line. Okay, there's a couple wire ties. One was here, so those two, and then back over here where the inlet goes, you only have to disconnect it up here, pull that back. This seal should just pull out, which will do that. Let's get this in a good spot. We should have a rubber line connected to it on the inside. We'll see if we can get it all out. There's the pickup. In the past, it had some kind of this little screen here, which it's just a filtering screen. I don't really see anything wrong with this, but I might replace this also. Let's get this done. Thing to remember, if there's any air bleed that it sucks air in at any one of these points, that filter will not, it's going to take the least path of resistance, and it's not going to pull fuel. So all this has to make sure it's a good seal. Let me get the new lines out. I bought 10-foot of line on Amazon, fuel line, 1/4 inch. The outside diameter looks a little smaller than the original, but I want to replace it just in case there's a hole somewhere. Make sure I have all good seals. Okay, it's all on there. There's no air filter, no restriction. Let me give it a crank and see if it's any different. That should be plenty of fuel. I'll put the filter on now. I'll put this fuel filter in. They don't have a direction on them, but fuel should come in here. It'll go around this metal where there's a gap here, flow through the filter, inside the filter, and then back out. Then you can see your debris. Get it on there. All right, let's crank it and see what happens with the filter. I can see it's starting to pull. I don't think it pulls like it should. Should not have started. That fell right back on the spark plug. Well, we'll start it and see how it reacts. All right, we're going to see how it runs now. If the problem persists, the only thing would be is the OEM pump, the suction tube here, or maybe breaking the gasket on the valve cover where it's allowing it to lose its vacuum. Those are the only things left. See how it starts now. You can see the fuel level now. what I'll do is when I'll let it sit, come out the next day and check and see if it's holding that fuel level. Normally that'll bleed off, and that's why it's so hard to pump or start, because you got to pump that fuel all the way back through. We'll see how it reacts now. All right, it's a couple days later. I've had the zero turn sitting now for a couple days without starting it. Take a look and see if we got fuel still in the filter. Yeah, it's holding the fuel. Now normally that would be empty. So I'm going to give it a try to start it. That'll tell us whether this worked or not. Give it a crank. Give it some gas here. As you heard, it did crank quite a bit. What I found was I needed to choke it more and give it a more throttle, and then it kicked right over. I do think it is better. We have the aftermarket carburetor on there. I'm going to go ahead and rebuild the old one and put the original back on, and I think that will finish curing it. But it's definitely holding fuel in the filter now after sitting for several days. I think that is the problem. Now just getting the proper carburetor back on it.